The Limoges china shatters against the wall 6 inches from my face. Asparagus and hollandaise slide down the silk wallpaper. A shard catches my cheek. I feel the sting, then warmth. Blood, probably. Mrs. Victoria Ashford doesn't notice. Or doesn't care. Pathetic, she hisses. Absolutely pathetic. Do you know how much we pay you to stand there like a simpleton? I do know. $42,000 a year to be invisible in a house worth $90 million. To serve meals prepared by a private chef. To clean rooms that magazine photographers call palatial. To watch Victoria Ashford treat human beings like furniture that occasionally disappoints her. The dining room holds its breath, the chef frozen in the doorway, the other staff staring at their shoes, Victoria's daughters looking everywhere but at me. And James Ashford, the billionaire himself. Tech mogul. Philanthropist. The man whose signature appears on hospital wings and scholarship fonts. He sits at the head of the table, wine glass halfway to his lips, expression unreadable. Victoria, he says quietly. Don't, she snaps. Don't defend the help to me, James. This is exactly why nothing runs properly in this house. No standards. No consequences. My cheek throbs. I press my fingers to it. They come away red. James Ashford sets down his glass. Grace, he says, looking at me directly for the first time in 3 months. Go clean that cut. Take the rest of the evening off. She'll do no such thing, Victoria interrupts. She'll clean this mess, and then, Grace, please leave. It's not a request. It's a command, but gentle. The kind of authority that doesn't need volume. I go. In the staff bathroom, I press gauze to my cheek and watch my hands shake. Not from fear. From rage I can't afford to show. This isn't the first time Victoria has thrown something. Isn't even the first time this month. But it's the first time she's drawn blood. And James Ashford has done exactly what I expected. Nothing. 4 months earlier, the Ashford mansion sits in Greenwich, Connecticut, like a monument to excess. 23 bedrooms. Indoor pool. Tennis courts. A garage that houses 12 cars, including a vintage Ferrari that no one drives. I stand in the service entrance with my bag, my references, my carefully ironed blouse. The estate manager, Caroline, walks me through protocols with military precision. Mrs. Ashford has exacting standards. She notices everything. Mr. Ashford is rarely home. He travels extensively for business. The daughters are 16 and 14. They attend boarding school, but are home weekends and holidays. What should I know about Mrs. Ashford? I ask. Caroline's pause tells me everything. She appreciates efficiency, discretion, and she doesn't tolerate mistakes. Code words. I've learned to translate them over 12 years of domestic work. Doesn't tolerate mistakes means will make your life hell over microscopic infractions. But I need this job. I've needed every job since the accident. Since I lost Marcus and Lily in a highway collision caused by a drunk driver who got off with probation because his family knew the right lawyers. Since I learned that money buys different justice. Since I stopped believing the world was fair and started just trying to survive in it. Caroline shows me to the staff quarters, a small room, clean, functional. A window overlooking the gardens. Better than some places I've worked. You'll start tomorrow. 6 a.m. Mrs. Ashford takes breakfast at 7:30 sharp. That night, I unpack my few belongings. I set Marcus and Lily's photo on the nightstand, the 3 of us at the beach, laughing, alive, unaware that we had 6 months left together. New job, I tell them. Same story, but the pay is good. I'll manage. I always manage. I meet Victoria Ashford at 7:29 a.m. She sweeps into the breakfast room wearing athleisure that costs more than my monthly salary. 45, perfectly maintained, the kind of beauty that requires professional intervention. Her eyes are ice blue and calculating. You're the new Maid, she says. Not a question. Grace Williams, ma'am. Please to coffee. Black. Immediately, I pour from the carafe the chef prepared. I set the cup on her place, setting with careful precision. She lifts it. Sips. Her face transforms into disgust. This is cold. It's not. I poured it 30 seconds ago. But I've learned this game. I'll get fresh, ma'am. See that you do? And Grace? When I say immediately, I mean before I sit down. Not after. Do you understand the concept of anticipation? Yes, ma'am. Then demonstrate it tomorrow. She dismisses me with a wave. I return to the kitchen, pour new coffee from the same carafe, bring it back. Better, she says, though nothing has changed. Over breakfast, her daughters appear, Sophia and Emma, polite but distant, clearly practiced at navigating their mother's moods. They eat in silence while Victoria critiques the chef's egg preparation, the seasonal flower arrangement, the temperature of the house. Everything is wrong. Nothing satisfies her. At 8:15, James Ashford appears. He's 52, salt and pepper hair, sharp suit, the kind of presence that shifts the room's gravity. He built a software empire from a college dropout's idea. His net worth is public, $7.3 billion. He kisses Victoria's cheek. She softens microscopically. "Morning, girls," he says to his daughters. They light up. He glances at me. "You're new." "Grace, sir. Started today." "Welcome." He means it. His eyes are kind. Then he checks his watch, gulps coffee standing, and leaves. A helicopter waits somewhere on the grounds. He's in Manhattan for meetings. He'll be back Thursday. Maybe. I clear the breakfast dishes and learn the first rule of the Ashford household. Victoria rules this domain absolutely. And she rules through fear. The incidents start small. A water glass not refilled quickly enough. Points deducted from my imaginary score. Towels folded incorrectly. A lecture on standards. Lunch served at 12:04 instead of noon. A theatrical sigh of disappointment. I do everything right. It doesn't matter. Victoria needs someone to diminish. I'm available. "You people," she says one afternoon, not specifying which people she means, simply don't understand quality. It's cultural, I suppose. I'm black. She's noted it without acknowledging it. The insults come wrapped in polite words that avoid explicit racism while communicating it perfectly. I say nothing. I need this job. I endure. The other staff, there are 6 of us, warm me quietly. "Don't engage," the chef says. She feeds on reaction. "Document everything," Caroline advises. "Just in case. Mr. Ashford doesn't see it," the groundskeeper tells me. Or maybe he does. But he never intervenes. I watch how it works. When James is home, Victoria modulates. She's sharp but controlled. He seems to perceive her as demanding but not abusive. Exacting but not cruel. He doesn't see what we see, or he chooses not to. The throne plate changes something. The next morning, Victoria acts like nothing happened. She takes breakfast at 7:30, critiques the coffee, dismisses me with her usual contempt. But James doesn't leave for Manhattan. He stays, works from his home office, appears for lunch, which he never does, and he watches. I feel his attention tracking movements, interactions, moments. When Victoria snaps at the chef, James is there. When she berates Emma for wrinkled clothes, he observes silently. When she tells me to re-clean the already spotless living room because I can see streaks, he stands in the doorway, unseen by her, taking it in. That evening, I'm in the kitchen when Caroline finds me. "Mr. Ashford wants to see you." His office. Now, my stomach drops. This is it. Victoria complained. I'm fired. I knock on the heavy oak door. "Come in, Grace." His office is all dark wood and leather, walls lined with awards and photos. James with presidents, celebrities, leaders. The trappings of someone who matters. I stand just inside the door. He gestures to a chair. "Sit. Please." I perch on the edge of expensive leather. James Ashford studies me with uncomfortable intensity. "How's your cheek?" "Fine, sir. Just a scratch." "Grace, I'm going to ask you a direct question, and I need you to answer honestly. Is last night the first time my wife has thrown something at you?" Every instinct screams to lie, to protect my job, to remember that rich people don't actually want truth. They want the comfortable version. But something in his eyes stops me. Tired, almost pleading. "No, sir," I say quietly. "It's the first time I've been hit. But it's not the first time she's thrown things." He closes his eyes briefly. "How often?" 3 times in 4 months. "Usually when you're traveling." "What else?" "I don't understand, sir. What else does Victoria do that I don't see?" And something breaks open in me. Maybe it's exhaustion. Maybe it's bleeding for $42,000 a year. Maybe it's Marcus and Lily whispering that silence didn't save them. I tell him everything. The constant criticism. The impossible standards. The casual cruelty disguised as high expectations. The way she speaks to staff like we're inconvenient objects. The comments about "you people" and cultural differences. James Ashford listens without interrupting. His expression doesn't change, but his hands tighten on the desk. When I finish, he's quiet for a long moment. "Why didn't you quit?" "I need the job, sir." And I pause. And in 12 years of domestic work, I've learned that most employers are like this. Maybe not this extreme, but the dynamic is the same. We're invisible until we're inconvenient. I'm sorry, he says. I don't know what to do with that. Employers don't apologize. I need you to do something for me, he continues. I need you to wear this. He slides a small device across the desk. A button camera, sophisticated, expensive. It clips inside your uniform collar. It records audio and video. Will you wear it for the next week? My heart hammers. Sir, if Mrs. Ashford finds out, she won't. And if she does, you're protected. I give you my word. Full severance if you choose to leave. References. But I need to see the truth. Why now? I asked. You've been married to her for 19 years. You knew who she was. He flinches. I knew who she was to me. To our daughters. I didn't know. He trails off. I didn't pay attention. And that's on me. I wear the camera. For 5 days, I document Victoria's reign of casual cruelty. She makes the chef cry over pedestrian soup. She tells Emma she's getting fat. She lectures Sophia about throwing away opportunities by getting an A-. She demands I reorganize the china cabinet 3 times, rejecting each arrangement with elaborate disappointment. The camera captures everything. On day 3, Victoria has friends over for lunch. Wealthy women who drink wine and discuss their various staff problems like we're malfunctioning appliances. I swear, one woman says, the agency sends me the most incompetent candidates. Basic instructions are apparently beyond them. It's the entitlement, another agrees. They think showing up is enough. Victoria holds court. The key is maintaining standards absolutely. The moment you accept mediocrity, you've lost. I'm not unkind. I simply refuse to lower my expectations. I serve tea and disappear into the walls. That night, I remove the camera and download the footage to the encrypted drive James provided. I watch pieces of it, see myself being spoken to, spoken about, dismissed and diminished and treated like I'm less than human. I see what I've endured. I see what I've normalized. And I realize James Ashford isn't gathering evidence for me. He's gathering it for himself, to confirm what he hasn't wanted to see. On day 6, everything explodes. Victoria fires the chef over imperfectly trimmed asparagus. Pack your things. I want you gone within the hour. The chef, a woman named Teresa who's worked here for 8 years, stands frozen, shocked. Mrs. Ashford, please. I have rent due. I need notice. You should have thought of that before serving me garbage. Get out. Teresa leaves in tears. I find James in his office, show him the footage. He watches silently, his expression carved from stone. That evening, he calls a household meeting. All staff, both daughters. Victoria. We gather in the formal living room, the one usually reserved for important guests. The staff stands awkwardly. The daughters sit on the sofa, confused. Victoria sweeps in last, irritated. James, what is this about? I have plans this evening. Sit down, Victoria. Something in his voice stops her. He sets his laptop on the coffee table. Presses play. The footage runs. 5 days compressed into 20 minutes. Every dismissive comment. Every cruel criticism. Every moment of Victoria treating human beings like disappointing servants in her kingdom. The room is silent except for her voice on the recording. Sophia starts crying quietly. Emma stares at her mother with something like horror. Victoria's face goes white, then red. You recorded me? In my own home. I documented the truth, James says quietly. What you do when you think no one important is watching. These are staff matters. This is how you maintain a household. I won't apologize for having standards. You threw a plate at Grace's face. She was slow. She's a human being. The words land like a gavel. James turns to me, to Teresa, who he called back, to all the staff. I owe each of you an apology. I hired you. I created this environment by allowing it to continue. I told myself Victoria was just particular, just stressed. I looked away because it was easier than looking. He turns back to his wife. That ends now. You're choosing them over me? Victoria's voice rises. Your wife? The mother of your children? I'm choosing basic human decency, which you failed to show. I want a divorce, Victoria spits. Good, James says. Because you're going to get one. The room erupts. Victoria screaming. The daughters sobbing. James standing firm, immovable, his voice never rising. You'll have lawyers by morning, he tells Victoria. Until then, Caroline will help you pack essentials. You're staying at the plaza while we formalize arrangements. You can't throw me out of my home. Watch me. And he does. Within 3 hours, Victoria Ashford is gone, escorted by security to a car, to a hotel, to the consequences she's avoided for 19 years. The house feels like it's exhaling. The divorce takes 11 months. 11 months of lawyers and depositions and Victoria's legal team trying to paint James as abandoning a devoted wife over personality conflicts. 11 months of the staff giving statements, providing documentation, corroborating years of abuse. The camera footage becomes Exhibit A. I testify at the deposition. I describe the plight, the casual cruelty, the systematic degradation. Victoria's lawyer tries to discredit me, suggests I'm disgruntled, opportunistic, lying for money. James's lawyer presents my 12-year employment history, letters of recommendation from previous employers, character witnesses, and James himself testifies, describes his own blindness, his complicity through inaction, his shame at allowing people in his employment to suffer because confronting his wife was uncomfortable. I built a company on the principle that every person matters, he tells the court. Then I went home and pretended not to notice that my wife treated people as less than human. That makes me complicit. The judge is unmoved by Victoria's claims of betrayal. The prenuptial agreement is ironclad. She leaves with $10 million, a Greenwich condo, and her reputation in tatters. The daughters choose to live with their father. 3 months after the divorce finalizes, James calls another household meeting. I expect policy changes, new protocols. Instead, he announces something else. I'm restructuring how this household operates, he says. Effective immediately, every staff member receives a 40% raise, full health benefits, and profit sharing in the family investment portfolio. Stunned silence. Additionally, I'm establishing an employee council. You'll have input on working conditions, scheduling, policies. This is your workplace. You should have a voice in how it functions. Teresa, rehired as chef, starts crying. I should have done this years ago, James continues. I should have seen you as people, not services. That was wrong. I can't undo the past, but I can change how we move forward. He looks at me. Brace, I'd like you to consider leading the council. You spoke up when no one else could. That takes courage this household needs to honor. The change isn't instant. You can't undo years of hierarchy overnight. But slowly, the house transforms. Staff meetings become actual discussions. Concerns are heard. The atmosphere shifts from fear to something almost like respect. James eats meals with us sometimes, learns our names, our stories, our lives beyond our roles. He asks about my family. I tell him about Marcus and Lily, about the drunk driver, about justice that money bought but grief couldn't touch. I'm sorry, he says, and means it. His daughters adjust too. Sophia starts helping with dishes, asking staff about their days. Emma volunteers with a domestic workers' rights organization. They're learning different lessons than their mother taught. 1 year after Victoria's departure, Teresa cooks a celebration dinner, not for the Ashfords, but for the staff. James insists on joining. To new beginnings, he toasts. To people brave enough to tell the truth. To Grace, who risked everything so I could finally see clearly. We clink glasses, Waterford crystal that we're allowed to use, not just clean. Later, James asks me to walk the grounds with him. The gardens are beautiful in evening light. We walk in comfortable silence until he stops by the rose beds. I want to show you something. He hands me architectural plans. I'm building a community center in Stanford. Free job training, legal services, counseling for domestic workers. People who need resources but have nowhere to go. The plans are detailed, thoughtful, expensive. I'm naming it after Marcus and Lily, he says. With your permission, the Williams Center. So their lives mean something beyond what was taken. My throat closes. I can't speak. You taught me that wealth isn't about how much you have. James continues. It's about what you do with what you're given. How you treat people who can't fight back. Whether you choose to see suffering you could prevent. I find my voice. What did you finally look? After all those years. He's quiet for a moment. Because I saw my daughters watching their mother. Learning from her. Becoming her. And I realized that what I tolerate, I teach. I was teaching them that cruelty is acceptable if you're powerful enough. That was my legacy. And now I'm teaching them something different. That everyone deserves dignity. That kindness isn't weakness. But the measure of character is how you treat people who can do nothing for you. 2 years after the plate shattered against the wall, the Williams Center opens. It's beautiful, modern, welcoming, staffed by people who understand what it means to be invisible. We offer legal clinics for workers facing abuse, job training for people trying to leave bad situations, support groups for those who carry invisible wounds. I run the outreach program. Teresa teaches cooking classes. Other former Ashford staff volunteer their time. James funds it all, quietly, without press releases or naming opportunities beyond Marcus and Lily's memorial. This isn't charity, he tells me at the opening ceremony. It's restitution. For all the years I looked away, hundreds of workers come through our doors in the first year. We help 63 people leave abusive employment situations. We connect 48 with better jobs. We provide counseling to hundreds more. We save lives that society treats as disposable. And I realize that sometimes justice doesn't look like courtrooms. Sometimes it looks like someone with power finally choosing to see. Victoria remarries within 3 years. Another wealthy man, another beautiful home. I hear from former staff that nothing has changed. She's still cruel, still imperious, still treating people as objects. But her daughters are different. Sophia studies labor law. Emma works in domestic workers advocacy. They visit the center regularly, volunteer their time, use their privilege to platform voices that usually go unheard. Mom taught us what not to be, Sophia tells me one afternoon. Dad taught us what we could become instead. 5 years after I first walked through the Ashford service entrance, James calls me to his office. I'm stepping back from daily operations, he says, focusing full-time on the foundation. I want you to come with me. Director of Worker Justice Programs. Full salary, full authority, full voice. I'm not qualified. You're the most qualified person I know. You've lived it. You understand it. And you're brave enough to demand better. I think about the plate shattering. About Victoria's sneer. About all the years I stayed quiet because I needed to survive. About Marcus and Lily, who would want me to do more than survive. Yes, I say. I'll do it. Today, I sit in an office with my name on the door. Grace Williams, Director of Worker Justice Programs. On my desk is the photo of Marcus and Lily at the beach. Look, I tell them. Look what we built from the wreckage. The phone rings constantly. Workers needing help, lawyers seeking consultation, media requesting interviews. I speak at conferences now. I train labor advocates. I consult with legislators on domestic worker protection laws. I'm not invisible anymore. But I remember what it felt like. Every day, I remember. And I use that memory to fight for the people still trapped in places I escaped. James and I have coffee monthly now. We're not friends exactly. The history is too complicated. But we're something. Allies. Fellow travelers. Do you regret it? I asked him once. The divorce. The upheaval. Choosing staff over your wife. Every day, he says honestly. Not the choice, that was right. But that I needed a maid to teach me basic humanity. That it took a plate hitting your face for me to see what was always visible. What changed? I press. Really? Why did you finally act? He's quiet for a long moment. I saw Emma watching Victoria scream at Teresa. And Emma's face, she looked bored. Like she'd seen it 1,000 times. Like it was normal. He swallows hard. That's when I knew. I was raising daughters who'd become their mother. Who'd inherit wealth and power and use it to diminish people. Unless I stopped it. You did. We did, he corrects. You were brave first. I just finally mastered your courage. If this story touched you, if you've ever been treated as less than, ever stayed silent to survive, ever wondered if speaking up was worth the risk, I want you to tell you something. Your dignity matters. Your voice matters. The way you're treated matters. And sometimes, just sometimes, someone with power is actually listening, waiting for permission to see what they've been avoiding. Needing someone brave enough to name the truth they fear. Be that person, not because it's safe, it usually isn't. Not because it's easy, it never is. But because the world changes one act of courage at a time. One maid saying this is wrong, to a billionaire who finally chose to listen. One plate shattering against a wall, destroying the illusion that wealth equals decency. One person deciding that surviving isn't enough, that dignity demands risk. I think about what might have happened if I'd stayed silent. Victoria would still be throwing plates. James would still be looking away. His daughters would still be learning that cruelty is acceptable when you're powerful. And I'd still be invisible, enduring, bleeding quietly for a paycheck. Sometimes speaking up costs everything. Sometimes it changes everything. The difference is worth discovering. I still work as a maid sometimes, undercover, investigating reported abuse situations. I go into wealthy homes wearing a wire, documenting what happens when the powerful think no one important is watching. I've helped 43 workers escape abusive situations in 3 years. I've connected with 11 employers who, like James, genuinely didn't see what was happening and wanted to change. I've learned that most people aren't villains or heroes. They're just people choosing, every day, whether to see suffering they could prevent. Some choose blindness. Some choose courage. James Ashford chose courage. Not at first, not easily, but eventually. And that choice rippled outward, saving his daughters, transforming his household, building a center that serves thousands. All because I wore a camera and he watched the footage and we both decided that truth mattered more than comfort. On the 5-year anniversary of the Williams Center opening, we hold a celebration. Hundreds attend. Workers we've helped, staff we've trained, families we've supported. James gives a speech. He talks about privilege's blindness, about power's responsibility, about the maid who taught him to see. I give a speech too. I talk about Marcus and Lily, about justice that comes too late, about building something meaningful from grief's wreckage. I couldn't save my family, I tell the crowd. But maybe, by saving others, I honor what they would have wanted. A world where everyone matters. Where kindness isn't revolutionary, it's baseline. Where the powerful remember that their comfort isn't worth another person's suffering. The applause is thunderous. Afterward, a young woman approaches me. She's 23, nervous, wearing a housekeeping uniform under her jacket. I work for a family, she says quietly. They treat me badly. I saw your story online. I wanted to ask, how did you find the courage? I look at her. So young, so afraid, so familiar. I didn't find it, I tell her honestly. I got desperate enough that staying silent hurt worse than speaking up. But you don't have to wait for desperation. You can choose courage now. What if no one believes me? Then you find someone who will. You call us. You document everything. You refuse to accept that this is normal, even when everyone acts like it is. I hand her my card. You're not alone. Not anymore. She takes it with shaking hands. Leaves with something like hope in her eyes. I watch her go and think about the plate shattering. About James finally choosing to see. About the center that bears my family's name. About how the smallest act of courage, one made saying no more, can reshape everything. Not always. Not easily. But sometimes. And sometimes is enough.